We cancelled our daughter's life and turned her into a slave for her siblings. Now, 2 years after she went no contact, our golden children have destroyed our home, drained our retirement, and the daughter we broke refuses to send even a single dollar to save us from the streets. She left on a Tuesday. No argument. No tears. No dramatic goodbye at the door. I came downstairs at 7 a.m. and her room was empty. Bed made. Closet cleared. The only thing she left behind was the list on her desk. 3 pages. Handwritten. Every chore she had been doing for the past 4 years, organized by day of the week, with instructions detailed enough that a stranger could have followed them. She had written instructions for the people who were replacing her. She knew we would need them. That list has been in my kitchen drawer for 2 years. I have not thrown it away. I do not know why I have not thrown it away. Maybe because it is the most organized thing in this house now and I cannot afford to lose it. Maybe because every time I open that drawer and see her handwriting I remember that she did not leave in anger. She left in preparation. That is the thing that keeps me up at night. Not the leaving. The preparation. The weeks she must have spent writing those instructions, knowing she was going to go, making sure everything was covered before she did. She did not blow up her life. She planned her exit the way she planned everything. Carefully. Completely. Without asking anyone for permission. My name is Roberta Vance. I am 61. My husband is Carl. He is 64. We have 3 children. Nadia is 29. That is the one who left. The one who does not answer. Marcus is 25. Simone is 22. Those are the ones we kept. The ones we chose. Every dollar. Every second. Every sacrifice we asked Nadia to make. I am going to tell you what we did. Not a version where we did not know better. The true version. The one where we knew exactly what we were doing and told ourselves it was fine because Nadia was strong and Nadia could handle it and Nadia did not need what the others needed. She needed it. She needed it more than any of them. And we gave it to everyone except her. Let me tell you who Nadia was. Before I tell you what we made her into. Who she actually was. Nadia was the kind of child who noticed things. Not in a loud way. In the way of someone who was always watching, always filing, always 3 steps ahead of the situation. She was 7 years old when she noticed that I was stressed before I had said a single word about it. She came into the kitchen and stood next to me and said, "What do you need, Mom?" Not what is wrong. What do you need? 7 years old. She was the one who remembered. Teacher names. Appointment dates. Which cousin was going through something difficult and needed a call. She carried the family's details in her head the way other people carry their own schedule and she did it without being asked and without complaining and without ever once suggesting she deserved recognition for it. She got straight A's without being reminded to study. She made her bed every morning without being told. She was reading chapter books at 5 and had finished most of the novels on our bookshelf by the time she was 12. Her teachers called her exceptional. One of them, Mrs. Garland in 7th grade, called me specifically to say, "I want you to know what you have. Not every parent understands what they have. Please make sure she gets the opportunity she deserves." I told Carl about that call. We did not do anything about it. That is the first thing I have to say clearly. We knew what we had. We were told directly. We chose not to act on it because acting on it would have cost us something and Nadia never demanded we pay. She got a full scholarship to a university 3 hours away. Full. Every dollar covered. Room, board, tuition. She had earned it entirely on her own. She came home that spring with the letter and put it on the kitchen table and stood there with this look on her face that I can still see. Not pride exactly. Relief. Like she had been working toward an exit and the exit had finally arrived. We told her she could not go. Marcus was 17 that year. He had been struggling in school since 9th grade. Failing 2 classes. In and out of the principal's office. A situation with a teacher that had required Carl to go in 3 times. He needed supervision. He needed structure. He needed someone to make sure he did his work and got to his appointments and did not make the particular kind of decisions 17-year-old Marcus made when left to himself. Simone was 14. Still young enough that I told myself she needed her older sister. Needed a female presence in the house during the years that mattered. Needed someone to talk to. What Simone needed was her mother. What Marcus needed was his parents. We were right there. We were physically present in that house every single day. But attending to Marcus and Simone the way they actually needed attending to would have required us to do things differently. To change our schedule. To give up the Tuesday night dinners with Carl's brother, the Friday night routine we had built around our own comfort. To actually parent instead of having a system that ran the household while we moved through it. Nadia was the system. She had been the system since she was 11 years old. Making lunches. Keeping track of Marcus's assignments when he stopped keeping track himself. Sitting with Simone during the hard nights in middle school when Simone needed someone to talk to and I was tired and Carl was watching television. We looked at a full scholarship and a letter that represented everything that child had worked for since she could read and we said, "We need you here. Not we want you here. We need you here." There is a difference. We knew the difference. We used the word we meant. She did not go. She deferred. 1 year, she said. I will defer 1 year and then go. We said yes. 1 year. Of course. 1 year became 4. I am going to tell you exactly what those 4 years looked like. Not the version I told people at church. The true version. Nadia woke up at 5:45 a.m. every weekday. She made breakfast for the household before she left for the community college she was attending locally because the scholarship had expired and she could not afford the university on her own. She worked 22 hours a week at a grocery store. She came home and made dinner 4 nights a week. She monitored Marcus's homework. She drove Simone to appointments because Carl's back was bad and I had taken on extra hours at the office to cover the money we were not saving because we were not saving money. She had no social life. Not because she was antisocial. Because there was no time. I know this because her one close friend from high school, a girl named Terry, called me in Nadia's second year home and said, I am worried about Nadia. She never comes out anymore. She says she is always busy. Is everything okay at home? I said, she is helping the family. It is temporary. Terry said, how temporary? I said, we are working on it. I was not working on it. There was nothing to work on because I had decided that the arrangement was working and Nadia had not told me it was not working and I used her silence as permission. She was not silent because she was okay. She was silent because she had learned at 11 years old that asking for things in our house produced nothing except the particular exhaustion of watching her parents decide that what she needed was less urgent than what everyone else needed. She stopped asking. She did what was required. She planned her exit. In year 3 she started saving. Not visibly. She opened an account I did not know about and put money in it every month from the grocery store job. I found out about it later. After she left. When I was looking for something in her room and found a statement in the drawer of her desk. 18 months of deposits. $200 here. $150 there. Building toward something. Building toward Tuesday. In year 4 something shifted. I noticed it but did not understand it. She stopped engaging in the small complaints she had occasionally voiced. Stopped sighing when I asked her to cover something additional. Stopped having the particular expression she sometimes had when Marcus did something that should have had consequences but did not. She went neutral. Efficient. Present in body, somewhere else in everything else. I thought she had finally accepted the situation. She was finishing the plan. 3 weeks before she left, Marcus crashed Carl's car. Not a minor accident. He ran a red light at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday coming home from somewhere he had told us was a friend's house and was not a friend's house and the car was totaled and Marcus walked away without a scratch and the other driver had a broken wrist and we spent the next 2 weeks managing insurance and a lawyer and the particular chaos that Marcus generated and then expected everyone around him to absorb. Nadia handled most of the paperwork. Because I was overwhelmed and Carl was on the phone with the insurance company and Marcus and Nadia was the one who sat down and organized the documents and found the information we needed and made sure everything was submitted correctly and on time. The night after the last document was submitted she came into the kitchen where I was sitting and she said, I have something to tell you. I said, okay. She said, I am leaving. I have an apartment. I have a job offer in the city. I have enough saved to cover the first 3 months while I get established. I am leaving on Tuesday. I said, what? She said, I have been here for 4 years. The scholarship is gone. I am not going to get it back. I have built what I can build here and I need to go build something else now. I said, we need you here. Marcus still needs. She said, Marcus is 25 years old. I said, Simone is still. She said, Simone is 22. She is an adult. I said, you cannot just leave. She looked at me for a long moment. The way she used to look at things she was filing away. Then she said, I have been here 4 years past when I was supposed to leave. I have made breakfast and dinner and managed homework and driven to appointments and covered every gap in this household for 4 years. I did not ask for payment. I did not ask for recognition. I asked for 1 year and gave 4. I am leaving on Tuesday. I said, what about us? What about this family? She said, I left instructions on my desk. She walked out of the kitchen. Tuesday she was gone. The first month after Nadia left I told myself it would be an adjustment. That is the word I used. Adjustment. Like she had rearranged the furniture and we needed to get used to the new layout. Marcus stopped making his own meals within 2 weeks. Not because he could not. Because he never had. Nadia had always made meals and when Nadia was not there he waited for someone else to make meals and when no one made meals he ordered delivery and charged it to the card Carl had given him for emergencies and Carl said nothing because saying something to Marcus required a confrontation and Carl had spent 25 years avoiding confrontations with Marcus. Simone stopped doing laundry. Her laundry had always appeared clean in her room. She had not connected this to any specific action because the action had always been Nadia's and Nadia was quiet about it. When I told Simone she needed to do her own laundry she looked at me with genuine confusion and said, how? She was 22 years old and did not know how to do laundry. That is when I first understood what we had actually done. Not to Nadia. To Marcus and Simone. We had produced two adults who had never been required to function because there was always someone else functioning for them. They were not lazy exactly. They were unbuilt. The scaffolding had always been Nadia, and without Nadia there was no building underneath. I called Nadia 3 weeks after she left. She answered. I want to say that because people assume she went fully silent immediately. She did not. She answered that first call. She was polite. She asked how I was. She did not offer to come back. She did not offer to help from a distance. She was courteous the way a person is courteous with someone they have decided to keep at a specific distance. I said, we are struggling without you. Marcus is not managing. Simone does not know basic things. She said, I know. I said, can you come for a few weeks? Just to help them get set up. Silence. Then she said, I spent 4 years setting up. I left instructions. If the instructions are not enough, then the problem is not that I did not leave enough instructions. I said, Nadia. She said, I love you, Mom. But I am not coming back to fix this. She hung up. That was the last real conversation we had. After that her responses got shorter. Then she stopped responding at all. By month 4 she was not answering calls. By month 6 the number went to voicemail on the first ring. By month 8 she had changed the number entirely. 2 years. No contact. Not a text. Not an email. Nothing. Let me tell you what Marcus and Simone have done in the 2 years since Nadia left. Marcus lost his job in month 2. Not fired. He quit because, he told Carl, the manager was disrespectful and he did not need that energy. He needed a paycheck. He did not articulate this connection. He moved back into the house 2 weeks after quitting because his apartment costs were more than his savings, and we said yes because saying no to Marcus had never been a thing we had practiced. He has had 3 jobs since then. The longest lasted 5 months. The current one has lasted 6 weeks and I can already see the signs. Simone finished a degree in communications and has been waiting for the right opportunity for 14 months. She has not applied to jobs that are beneath her, she says. She has not defined what beneath her means. She lives in the house. She pays no rent. She buys things online regularly. I know this because the packages arrive daily and the credit card statement I saw last month had $2,400 in charges I did not recognize. That card is in Carl's name. Carl has said nothing. Because saying nothing is what Carl does. In the first year I spent $14,000 covering the gaps. Marcus's rent before he moved back. Simone's car payment when she fell behind. Groceries for an expanded household that was not supposed to be expanded. 2 therapy sessions for Marcus that he attended once each and then stopped attending. In the second year I spent $19,000. That is $33,000 in 2 years. Our retirement account had $140,000 in it when Nadia left. It has $91,000 in it now. I have done that math more times than I want to count. I do it in bed at 3 a.m. when I cannot sleep and the house is quiet and I can hear Marcus's television through the ceiling. 3 months ago Carl sat me down at the kitchen table and showed me a spreadsheet. Carl is not a spreadsheet person. The fact that he had made a spreadsheet told me everything I needed to know about how serious the situation was before he said a word. He said, I need you to look at this. I looked. At our current rate of spending versus income we would exhaust the retirement account in 4 years. Possibly 3. The house had equity but the equity was tied to a mortgage we were still paying and the mortgage payment was 40% of Carl's monthly take-home since his hours had been reduced last year. He said, we need to make changes. I said, what kind of changes? He said, Marcus needs to contribute or leave. Simone needs to contribute or leave. We cannot maintain this. We had that conversation in the kitchen where Nadia used to make breakfast at 5:45 a.m. At the table where she had put down the scholarship letter 16 years ago with that look on her face that I can still see. Carl said, and we need to call Nadia. I said, she does not answer. He said, we need to try. I tried for 3 weeks before I reached her. Not her number. That had been changed for over a year. I found her through her job. She worked at a firm in the city. I called the main line and asked for her by name and the receptionist put me through and she answered because she did not know it was me. She said, this is Nadia. I said, Nadia. It is Mom. Silence. Not a short silence. A long one. The kind that has weight. Then she said, how did you get this number? I said, I called your office. I did not have another way to reach you. She said, I changed my number for a reason. I said, I know. I am sorry. I needed to talk to you. Another silence. Then she said, okay. Talk. I told her. All of it. The $33,000. The retirement account. Carl's reduced hours. Marcus back in the house. Simone and the credit card. The spreadsheet. The 4 years at the current rate. I told her we needed help. She was quiet for a long time after I finished. Then she said, I want to make sure I understand. You are calling to tell me that Marcus and Simone have spent 2 years doing what Marcus and Simone have always done, which is take everything available to them without contributing, and that you and Dad have spent 2 years allowing this the way you have always allowed it, and now the money is running low and you need me to help cover what they have consumed. I said, we are family. We are in trouble. She said, you were in trouble when I was 17 and you took my scholarship. You were in trouble when I was 20 and working 22 hours a week and making dinner and doing everyone's laundry and driving Simone to appointments. You were in trouble the whole time I was there and I covered that trouble for 4 years and then I left and apparently nothing changed except that there is no longer someone covering it for free. I said, Nadia. She said, I am not angry, Mom. I want you to hear that. I am not calling from a place of anger. I am calling from a place of being very clear about what I can and cannot do. And what I cannot do is be the solution to a problem that was never actually mine. I said, we could lose the house. She said, I know. I said, where are we supposed to go? She said, I do not know. But I know that is not a question I can answer for you. I spent 4 years answering questions that were not mine to answer. I am not able to do that anymore. I said, please. We are your parents. She said, you are my parents. You are also the people who took a full scholarship out of my hands and turned it into 4 more years of unpaid labor because it was easier than dealing with Marcus and Simone yourselves. Those two things are both true at the same time. I said, we made a mistake. She said, yes. I said, does that not matter? She said, it matters. It does not change what I am able to do. I have built a life. I have a savings account and a career and an apartment that is mine. I built all of that from the nothing I left with 2 years ago. I cannot dismantle what I built to cover what Marcus and Simone have dismantled. That is not something I am willing to do. I said, I am your mother. Long pause. She said, I know. I love you. I have always loved you. But love is not the same as being available for whatever the family needs whenever the family needs it. I learned that lesson watching the way you loved me versus the way you loved them. You loved me like a resource. You loved them like people. I needed to be loved like a person. I needed that for a long time. I am not angry that I did not get it. I am just clear now about what I can give and what I cannot. She said, I hope you find a way through this. I genuinely do. She hung up. I sat at the kitchen table for 45 minutes after she hung up. Carl came in and looked at my face and did not ask what she said. He already knew. That was 6 weeks ago. Here is where we are now. Marcus is still in the house. Carl had the conversation with him last month. Told him he needed to contribute $600 a month toward household expenses or find another living situation. Marcus said that was not fair given his current income. Carl asked what his current income was. Marcus said it was complicated. Carl said the $600 was not negotiable. Marcus has paid $0. Carl has not followed up. Because following up means a confrontation and Carl does not do confrontations. Simone cried when we told her she needed to contribute or find somewhere else. Full tears. The kind that have worked since she was 4 years old. She said she was trying. She said the job market was impossible. She said she just needed a little more time. Carl said, okay. A little more time. I sat at that table and I thought about Nadia at 17 putting a scholarship letter down and standing there with that look on her face. I thought about what a little more time had meant for Nadia. I thought about Mrs. Garland calling me to say please make sure she gets the opportunities she deserves. I did not say anything. Because I am Carl in that moment. I am the person who does not follow up. I have always been that person and the cost of being that person is sitting at this table right now adding up. The retirement account will be gone in 3 years at this rate. Possibly 2 if Marcus's current job ends the way the last 3 ended. The house has equity. $180,000 at last assessment. But selling the house means somewhere to go and somewhere to go means money we do not have and starting over at 61 and 64 with nothing built underneath us. Nadia has a life. A real one. Built from the ground up with the nothing she left with. I found her on a professional networking site last month. Her title has changed twice in 2 years. She has a photo. Professional. She is smiling the way she used to smile when she was young before the 4 years, the real smile, the one we did not see very much by the end. She looks like a weight has been lifted. I know what weight. I know exactly what weight. I put it there. I kept adding to it for 4 years. I told myself it was temporary every single time I added more and I watched it press down on her and I told myself she could handle it because she always handled it and I used her capacity as permission to keep going. She handled it until she did not have to anymore. Then she planned her exit. Wrote the instructions. Made the bed. Left on a Tuesday. There is a drawer in my kitchen. The list is still in it. 3 pages of handwriting. Every task organized by day of the week. Instructions detailed enough that a stranger could follow them. I opened the drawer this morning. I stood there and looked at her handwriting for a long time. Marcus's television was on upstairs. Simone's packages from yesterday were still in the hallway. Carl was in the other room not having the confrontation he needed to have. I looked at that list and I thought about Mrs. Garland calling me to say you know what you have. I thought about a 7-year-old girl standing in the kitchen asking what do you need mom? I thought about a scholarship letter on a table and a look on a face that I did not understand until it was 2 years gone. She knew. She always knew. She knew at 11 and at 17 and at 23 when she packed her room and made her bed and left instructions for the people who were replacing her. She knew we would run it into the ground. She knew Marcus and Simone would do what they had always done. She knew Carl would not have the confrontations. She knew I would not follow up. She knew all of it and she left anyway because knowing and staying were two different things and she had finally chosen herself. We are 61 and 64 with a retirement account that is disappearing and 2 children who have never been required to function and a daughter who built something real 200 miles away and will not send $1 to cover what we allowed. She is not wrong. That is the thing I cannot say out loud to Carl or to Marcus or to Simone or to anyone at church who asks how the kids are doing. Nadia is not wrong. We loved her like a resource. We loved them like people. We told ourselves it was fine because she was strong and she could handle it and she never complained loud enough for us to have to hear it. She handled it for 4 years. Then she left instructions. Then she left. And wherever she is right now, in that apartment she built from nothing, with that job she earned herself, with that smile that looks like relief, she is right. She is completely right. And we are sitting in the house she used to run, with the list she wrote still in the kitchen drawer, waiting for something to save us that is not coming. Because the thing that used to save us chose herself. And we are the reason she had to.